Welcome to Ghostly.
Is the historic Anchorage Hotel haunted?
Ghostly is a podcast that comes out every other week. In each episode, we take a ghost story or a paranormal event and look into its complete history. Rebecca then gives us evidence proving that the story is real, and my job is to debate those pieces of evidence and get you, the listener, prepared to vote on if it's real or not. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. And as always, we're your host. I'm Pat.
And I'm Rebecca.
And Rebecca, so there was a game that you were playing earlier. Remember the name of that game?
I think it's the Frog Detective, I believe. Yes.
And what did you find out in the Frog Detective?
Well, I played the first mystery, which was like Ghost Island or something like
interesting.
That. And in this particular case, the ghost turned out to be a character dancing and playing music in a cave, which was making noise. Sorry to give it away for any of you that want to go play.
So ghosts are not real. That's what you're saying.
No, that is not what I'm saying. I'm saying in this particular instance.
I don't know. When you told me, you said ghosts aren't real.
I did not say that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I heard. I'm sorry. So we have a really good episode today. We have not done an Alaska episode yet, and I'm super interested in Alaska. I've never been.
Nope, me neither.
I'm interested. I've been watching that new True Detective. Yeah. And although it's not in Anchorage, it is, Alaska. I mean, everything in Alaska is the same, right?
Yeah. Well, I've seen the commercials and it looks really like cold.
Yeah.
And spooky.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So, I'm guessing that's all of Alaska.
Did you know that there's a North Pole in Alaska?
No.
There is, and they have like Santa's Village.
Oh, wow. Like there's a town called North Pole?
Yes, there is. Yes. Anyways, this is actually, oddly enough, a tie-in to our last episode, Walt Disney. And I will tell you more about that as we get into the Pat Facts. But right now, we have shout-outs. And there are two ways to get a shout-out on Ghostly. The first way is to give us a review on Apple Podcast. We always prefer those 5-star reviews, but as you're going to find out today, and as always, we read any and all reviews that we receive. And the second way is to become a member on Patreon. Just go to ghostlypodcast.com and click on Patreon in the menu bar. We have a few different tiers to choose from, but what I wanted to bring up before the shout out, though, is that we have Jacob Mayfield joining us on the 22nd, which will be a day after this episode comes out. Mm-hmm. And this is really interesting. He's doing this for his new book, and he agreed to do a 1-card reading for anybody that is in that live stream.
Absolutely.
And you could become part of the live stream by joining the VIP. And also, here's an interesting thing too, is that you can do a 1-week trial. So if you sign up right now and you're listening to this episode on Wednesday, tomorrow on Thursday, you can be part of that.
Yeah. And see how you like it.
And listen to the almost 40 episodes that we have in there that touch upon ghostly stuff and go beyond ghostly stuff too.
Absolutely. We have interviews with a lot of the people that you've heard on Ghostly. We talk about secret societies.
Yes.
All sorts of other kind of paranormally topics.
Yes.
Super fun.
And now we're doing live streams where
every week, every month.
You can join. Yeah, not every week.
No.
Every month you can join in on that discussion and debate with us. And it's been a lot of fun. I really have been enjoying it.
Absolutely. And and even if you can't or you can't make it to the live, maybe you're listening to this. Right.
Yeah.
Later, you can still join Patreon and listen.
Yeah,
to the episodes, and specifically Jacob Mayfield's episode.
Or watch the episodes because it's on Zoom. Yeah. So Rebecca, can you read this review for us, please?
Absolutely. So thank you so much. We always love reviews. So this is a fun podcast by Jelly Bean. And
60056. Is that a zip code? Maybe.
No, I think we're one number short for that. No, we're not. It's 5.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
I can't. Why I thought I could deal with numbers is beyond me. English teacher.
But that zip code would put this person in Chicagoland area.
Oh, okay. Well, we're not going to we're not going to reveal anybody. All right. So it's a fun podcast, 4 stars. And it says, I love ghost story podcasts and stumbled upon yours and was ecstatic to see so many Illinois ghost stories. Being a Chicago girl myself. Okay. They revealed it. I enjoy hearing the banter of believer versus skeptic. Keep up the great work.
Oh, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, Jelly Bean.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you want to have your review read here, just, go to Apple Podcast and do a review.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we can't collect any of the other reviews that we get on other platforms because we don't know when we get them.
They don't. Yeah. So you can always also just send us a note. Go to ghostlypodcast.com. There's a contact us form.
Yeah.
We would love to hear from everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in fact, one of the things that we get from those contact forms are ghost stories.
Oh, yeah.
Listener mail ghost stories.
Oh.
So we have a listener mail.
From the Frog Detective?
From our listeners.
Okay.
So this is, this came from, Joe. There it is. Joe. Sorry. I was hiding at the bottom. This came from Joe, and I thought it's kind of a skeptic-y ghost story.
Okay.
And I don't know. Maybe that's going too far, but here we go. Hello, Rebecca and Pat. Thank you both for Ghostly Podcast. I have enjoyed it over the last couple of years while at the gym or taking a walk. I really enjoy a good ghost story. However, I am on the team in the middle.
Okay.
No, not a thing.
Oh, okay.
Although I hope to someday see objective scientific proof of ghosts or spirits, I look at things with a skeptical eye. I heard you were short on ghost stories, so I decided it was time to tell you one of mine.
Ooh.
I live in Ipswich, Massachusetts. I hope I said that right. Which is on the coast of Massachusetts, just north of Salem. I'm lucky enough to live on the coast with a small beach close to my home called Pavilion Beach.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
It really does. Pavilion Beach is a small but busy beach throughout the year, even after the weather gets cold. With the parking lot along the edge of the beach, it makes it easy for local clammers, people who dig for steamer clams.
Yeah, what are they going to do, climb a beach? Rebecca, come on.
To launch their small aluminum boats to get to the clamming flats. Sorry, I will get there. We just don't have anything like this in the Midwest, so I'm not used to this vocabulary. It's also the place where I walk my dog, Abe, every evening. Hi, Abe. It's a great place to let him run and roam around without his leash. And it's also where my ghost story takes place.
Ooh.
My story happened in October, so the summer boating season was winding down. During this time of year, people who own lobster traps need to take their traps out of the water. To do this, they load all of their traps onto their boat and then come close to the shore at high tide. They then drop the traps into the water close to the shore. When the tide goes out and the water recedes, the piled traps are exposed. They are then collected and stored for the winter. As always, I was walking Abe in the evening after the sun went down. I got to the beach and I took him off his leash to let him run. I continued towards the water, to walk towards the other end, and as Abe was running back and forth, sniffing and exploring different objects on the beach. It was getting dark, so I had a flashlight, and as I was walking, I could see 2 piles of lobster traps waiting to be collected. As I approached the second pile, I saw a very tall, skinny man inspecting the traps. I assumed they were his, and he was getting ready to load them onto his truck nearby. As I got closer, I could see him wearing overalls with one of those Gorton fisherman hats. You don't see those hats too often these days. He also had an overgrown bushy beard and a thin complexion. I can see him in a commercial.
Wait, is this me?
Our eyes met and I said, "Good evening." I don't remember if there was a reply, but I'm not one to start talking with strangers who look like they're busy. I kept walking past him and the pile of traps. I didn't walk more than 10 feet from where I said good evening when I heard Abe yelp. A yelp as if he was hurt or scared. I immediately turned around with my flashlight to see Abe running back toward my house. I immediately yelled Abe's name, but he was not stopping. I waved my flashlight around to see if the man had done anything to my dog. He was nowhere to be found. He wasn't by the traps. He wasn't by the parking lot. He was gone, disappeared. I just passed him seconds earlier. Where did he go? As shocked as I was, I had to get Abe before he got to the street. The dog was too quick, and despite me calling his name, he wasn't stopping. Fortunately, he made it to the house. I'm not sure what made Abe yelp and run back home, but it's interesting that I couldn't find the man I just patched on the beach. I think of this story every time I see the traps piled up on the beach, and I've never seen that man again. Keep up the good work, guys.
Aw.
Joe.
Well, thank you so much, Joe. And if you want to be like Joe, which I want to be like Joe because he lives in a really cool place, you can send us ghost stories through the email. You can email us at info@ghostlypodcast.com or use the contact us form on ghostlypodcast.com. Or one of our favorite ways to get ghost stories is in the actual mail. That's P.O. Box number 264, Geneva, Illinois, 60134. And as always, you're never going to remember all that stuff. I'm not going to even repeat it. Just go to the ghostlypodcast.com and scroll to the footer, and it's all written right there.
Absolutely. Or send us a DM on social media. Whatever is easiest for you.
Whatever.
We'll take it any way we can get it.
Yep.
All right. So we do have polls that we have to go over, right? Because we are back in it to win it.
I've been winning lately.
You have been winning lately. So the last episode, we talked about Walt Disney.
Yeah.
So the ghost of the man himself. We have yes, 51.5%.
Whoa.
And no, 48.5%.
Barely squeaked it by Miss Rebecca. Oh,
yes.
my God. And the overall rating, people can give a rating on here, and they can only give 1 through 10. They can't do a 0 like I can. 3.75.
Yeah, so, decent, but I guess on the lower side.
I would say definitely
yeses.
lower, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we are moving on to our ghost story.
You have a ghost story?
I do have a ghost story. Now, this is a little different today because I read something that was so good. I was like, I can't write a ghost story better than this.
Okay.
So we're going with it. It's from the Anchorage Daily News.
Okay.
It's time for a spooky tale from Rebecca.
As the pale light of midday briefly touched the cityscape on a December afternoon in 2004, Terry Rusi stood behind the front desk of the Anchorage Historic Hotel, checking logs and paperwork. The petite blonde with a pixie cut glanced up from her work into a mirror on the wall in front of her. That's odd, she thought. What was that? Rusi spun around to face a painting on the wall behind her, looking for the smoky silhouette of a white dress she swore she'd seen drift by the mirror just seconds before. There was nothing. The dim painting, a woman's portrait encased in a gold frame, offered no hoped-for explanation. No white dress. The painting is just a weathered face cast in the style and attitude of Francisco Goya's Saturn devouring his sons. Unsettling enough on its own, it was even more so when Rusi realized that there was nothing resembling the reflection she'd just seen. She shook her head in disbelief, dismissed the vision, and returned to her work. Later on in the week, a boyfriend of an employee passed the time with a self-guided tutorial on how to tie a tie. He was seated in a chair next to the narrow lobby fireplace, with Rusi again behind the front desk. As he practiced, a framed picture of notable Alaskan artist Sidney Lawrence spontaneously catapulted itself from the mantel across the room, shattering a glass coffee table on impact. Rusi was stunned. Assuming it was an earthquake, she looked around to see what else was shaking. The chandelier was still. The room was quiet. The man turned to her, his untied tie hanging from his neck, and casually suggested, "Maybe it's your ghost."
Wow. And so we already know that you didn't write this one.
I did not write this one.
But it's all fake, though, right?
No. The people in the story claim that this is real.
And what was this? What was the newspaper for? The Anchorage
Daily News.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we're going to talk about the history.
Pets,
All right, let's get into the pet facts.
Pet facts.
All right, so I'm going to start with Anchorage itself because I'm really interested in Alaska. I always have been. I actually drove from Chicago to Saskatoon, which is in Canada. It's in Saskatchewan, which is the halfway point.
Oh.
And that took me 25 hours. So if I would have went another 25 hours, and I did it all without stopping too. So if I would have went another 25 hours, I would have made it to Alaska.
And then died. It would be a long drive.
Yeah, I mean, I just, man, I've always wanted to go. It just, to get there, it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
I mean, the roads are pretty rough there. You know, you should always have like a spare set of tires and stuff when you're going there, extra fuel, because weird thing happens in Canada, especially gas stations close.
Oh, yeah.
Can you believe that? Like at night, you can't get gas.
When you're in a rural area, that happens.
Yeah. And actually, there was one spot when I was in when there was no radio stations on AM or FM.
That's pretty rural.
I hit seek and it just kept going through it over and over and over again.
That's scary.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, let's get into it. Anchorage has evidence of people living in the area for over 5,000 years. I was really surprised with this number because it's really difficult to live there. And I can't imagine people living there, before like heating and stuff like that.
Well, you know what? The indigenous people in Alaska, they make it work.
They do, definitely.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, though, not many people stayed there for too long at that period of time. Captain James Cook was among the first European explorers to map the Alaskan coastline. And many of its geographical features like mountains, islands, rivers, waterways, and they still bear the names that he gave them today. So Cook, the one that was after Peter Pan.
You mean Captain Hook?
Oh, yeah. Well, before he got the hook, he was Cook, right? No. Cook was...
All right, we need Mondo to make a song of it.
Yeah, right. Cook was searching for the fabled Northwest Passage, which was a route that provided a shorter means of reaching the Pacific from Europe. Shorter than the difficult Northeast Passage, which was around north of Asia or south around South America.
Gotcha.
I mean, if you
people are always
that,
looking for better routes.
They just always thought that there was one here.
Yeah.
On May 15th, 1778, after enduring weeks of hard weather, Cook turned into an inlet between two landmarks that he called Cape Douglas and Mount St. Augustine. So imagine that he's like, I'm going to turn in here, and that is Cape Douglas, and that's Mount St. Augustine right over there.
I mean, and of course, we acknowledge that the indigenous people probably already had names for those
they did,
things.
yeah.
But okay, we're going with
yeah, exactly.
This is what
he anchored his ship, the HMS Resolution, at a place he called Anchor Point, later named Anchorage. So that one did change a little bit.
Okay.
As another anchor point existed to the south near Homer, Alaska. Near a creek he dubbed Ship Creek, nestled between two large arms or waterways, In the 19th century, Russia had a presence in south central Alaska, and it was well established.
All right, can I just take a second? And this just came back to my memory.
Yeah.
One of my memories from middle school English class is we had to write a story. And as part of the story, it was like, there were like 5 people in the group and everybody had to write a chapter.
Okay. So
you could meet ahead of time to come up with an idea and then write your chapter. Mm-hmm. And our story was of a guy who escaped Russia and came to Alaska.
Ooh.
And like got on a train and made it down to the lower
Interesting.
48, I believe. I don't know. My chapter was him on the train.
Nice.
Hop in the train.
Nice.
Anyways,
maybe one day you'll find that paper and you could read it on
and
there.
I think I have found it at some point in my life, so I'm sure I have it somewhere. Great story that made no sense because
I'm sure
we all had different ideas, but it was fun. Sorry for that. Memory just came to me.
An Alaska fact. Rebecca's story. Yeah.
There you go.
In 1867, the U.S. Secretary of State William H. Seward brokered a deal to purchase Alaska from Imperial Russia for $7.2 million, or about 2 cents an acre, or $124.6 million in today's dollars.
Pretty cheap.
It seems like it was a really good deal.
Good deal.
Yeah. His political rivals said that, or they nicknamed it Stewart's Folly and Stewart's Icebox. And this is my favorite, Wall Russia. In 1888, gold was discovered.
And those people were like, yeah, or like they felt like fools. That's it. Yeah,
absolutely. It was discovered along Turnagain Arm, just south of modern-day Anchorage, leading to a new influx of prospectors. Because, whenever there's gold, people will run there.
Gold in them thar hills.
And small towns such as Spendard, Hope, Rainbow, Bird, Indian, and Girdwood began to spring up. Those sound like really modern names of towns. So, Alaska became an organized, incorporated United States territory in 1912. Anchorage, unlike every other large town in Alaska south of Brook Range, was neither a fishing nor mining camp. And
interesting.
Yeah. The area surrounding Anchorage lacked sufficient economical metal ores. So there was no reason to mine those areas because there wasn't anything there.
Huh. Yet it's like the city we know.
Yeah.
What most people think of,
And the city grew from its happenstance choice as a site for railroad construction to begin in 1914.
Exactly. Railroad.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The waters near Ship Creek were deep enough for barges and small ships to dock, and under the directions of Frederick Mears, it became a railroad construction port for the Alaska Engineering Commission. The area near the mouth of Ship Creek, where the railroad headquarters was, quickly became a tent city. Anchorage formed at a time when proponents of prohibition were gaining traction. And as a part of the efforts to stem the flow of alcohol trade, at the direction of President Woodrow Wilson and with the symmetry of the U.S. Army, a town site was mapped out on higher ground to the south of the tent city, with the condition that a person's land could be repossessed if caught breaking the alcohol laws.
How are they supposed to stay warm?
Yeah, right? That's what I'm thinking too. Anchorage has been noted in the years since for its order and rigidity, compared with other Alaskan town sites.
I was going to say, I don't think of Alaska as a state with a lot of law.
Hoodlums?
No, I think definitely hoodlums. Like, I feel like it's a lot of, if you're living out in the middle of nowhere, you know what I mean? There's not a lot of law. You're kind of doing your own, but that Anchorage, that makes sense as like the big city.
It seems like it.
Has
it seems
more,
like it.
In
1915, Territorial Governor John Franklin Alexander Sturgeon.
Wow, that's a name.
He's got a lot of names in there. Encouraged residents to change the city's name to one that had more significance in local associations. In the summer of that year, residents held a vote to change the city's name. A plurality favored the name Alaska City, which that's not very original. But the territorial government ultimately declared that they were going to keep it the same. Anchorage was incorporated on November 23rd, 1920.
I'm glad they did that vote.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then did nothing.
Yeah, wasted money and time. The Anchorage Hotel, though, that we're going to be talking about, and it wasn't called the historic Anchorage Hotel because at some point it has to have its history, right?
Right.
It was first established in the downtown Anchorage area in 1916. So it goes along with my timeline there. Mm-hmm. Just 1 year after the small settlement along the waters of Ship Creek, the Turnagain Arm, and Cook Inlet received its chapters. C.B. Wark built the first hotel building. While the building was originally a wood frame structure, Frank Reed upgraded the building to a luxury hotel in 1917. Because of the construction of the Alaska Railroad and air transportation in the 1930s, Anchorage saw a population spike, and the hotel needed to upgrade to accommodate this. So the Anchorage Hotel Annex was built in 1936 to house the additional guest with a sky bridge that connected it to the original hotel.
Ooh, fancy.
Right? Especially for that time in 1936.
Yeah, right.
For a time, the Anchorage Hotel was the only place in town where guests could be served food on fine china with silverware.
Whoa.
Yeah. The annex, designated by E. Ellsworth Siddell, had a Gothic design and was the tallest building in Anchorage at the time.
Wow, fancy.
Because there wasn't many buildings in Anchorage at the time.
And it had silverware. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Guests at the hotel included Warren Harding, Harold L. Ickens, Walt Disney, Rebecca.
There it is.
Yeah, Willie Post and Will Rogers.
Okay, I know that name.
The later two stayed at the hotel only 2 days prior to their deaths in a plane crash.
Spooky.
Yeah, but Walt Disney was there.
Yeah, there we go.
Learning how to be frozen in ice.
Exactly.
In addition, artist Sidney Lawrence, which you had mentioned in your story, lived in the hotel for parts of the 1920s and 1930s. Lawrence actually exchanged a painting of Mount McKinley for a year's rent at the hotel.
There you go.
By the 1950s, following years of boom and bust economies, the Anchorage Hotel had deteriorated. The original hotel building was demolished in the 1960s, while the annex became the Hotel Ronald Lee. After several ownership changes, Bob and Caroline Newman purchased the hotel in 1989 and modernized and renovated the building while retaining its early 20th century form. After its renovation, the hotel regained its original name, now operated as the historic Anchorage Hotel, and the annex was added to the National Registry of Historic Places on April 15th of 1999. Today, the hotel is recognizable for its distinctive appearance, a stucco building with vertical piers delineating the bays. So that is what I have for the history, Rebecca. Do you have anything to add?
No, just that, people that stay there talk about how the hotel, that it's nice, but that they did a good job of preserving, or, like you mentioned, it looks like early 20th century. It's not, obviously modernized version.
Well, remember, though, they did tear down the 1916 building.
Right. So it's not the same building, but it's
the annex that was built in 36.
Right.
Yeah.
But that it looks nice.
Yeah, I could see that. I've seen some pictures inside, and it looks pretty cool. I would stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
If you want to put me up in the hotel, the historic Anchorage Hotel, you can get me a ticket from Chicago to Anchorage, preferably in the summer months.
Yes.
Because I have enough winter here in Chicago, and I'd be glad to stay in your hotel. All right, so we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we're going to get to the debate. All right. You ready for a debate, Rebecca?
Let's do this.
All right.
All right. So there are several ghosts that are said to haunt the
supposed
Anchorage.
Ghost. I would like to clarify that.
That are said to haunt the Anchorage Hotel. That I didn't,
alleged ghost. How about that?
Some are permanent, meaning it's like we think these ghosts are always here, but some do come and go, according to psychics that have visited the hotel.
All right. Do they currently pay rent?
No.
Oh, okay.
There have been so many stories that, kind of like other hotels we've talked about, the hotel has started keeping a log of all the paranormal stories that people have reported. So there's a lot of really simple stories, like the curtains moved, like, things that would be maybe difficult to kind of prove would be ghosts.
Sure.
But there's others that are like they saw, a figure.
Okay. Well, I want to speak to that first.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I was thinking about this while I was doing some research. It's always difficult to stay in a hotel because it's not your home, right? You automatically feel out of sorts. There's not many hotels that I walk into that I'm just like, I feel like I'm at home. So it's automatically different than what I'm used to. That can cause a lot of issues, I would say. Would you agree?
No, it doesn't feel like home, but I don't necessarily have.
But you might be
issues.
out of sorts, though. You know.
It depends, I suppose.
All right. Well, anyways, I just wanted to say that first.
Yeah. I mean, I can see, especially for a historic hotel, I can see people having their minds being in a different place.
Sure.
You know? Yeah. All right. So let's start with the first story.
Okay.
That's from our ghost story today.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, let's go back to that. So seeing a woman's face in the mirror.
Ah, yes.
So that is a common story. And this is one of the two main ghosts that people talk about. There's a tragic story where there was a jilted bride who allegedly, trigger warning, alleged to have hung herself in one of the second floor rooms after her groom failed to show up on the day of their wedding. So she is said to appear in the hallways as a tall, elegant woman in a white dress.
Oh, jeez.
And occasionally will appear in mirrors.
Okay.
So it's really not the mirror so much. It's that people catch her walking, but they see it through the mirror.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to see things like out of the corner of your eye and stuff. I'm sure that these accounts aren't that the person was directly looking in the mirror and then all of a sudden saw something out of the corner of his eye probably and then turned to it. I'm going to assume.
That was the story, you know, so I assume others are like that.
So it's easy, you know, it's just like when you're walking down the street sometimes and you happen to think you see something and you have to take a double take, you know, it's the same kind of thing. I would say it's a condition that we humans have where we try to put faces into things. And so I'm going to say that one I think can be attributed just to people's overactive imagination. And I'm going to give it a 0.
All right. I think for me, it's interesting that multiple people, again, have had that vision.
Yeah.
I also, in my life, sure, there's been times where, you know, you kind of double take, but I've never really been like, I think I see something in a mirror, but then I look and it's not there. Like that would freak me out.
Well, a lot of times you talk yourself out of it. You're like, I didn't see anything like that.
Doesn't mean it wasn't there. Okay. So I'm going to give that one a 7.
7, okay.
All right.
A shaky 7 there. You were like, 7. Okay.
All right. So this is, I found an article and it had a comment.
Okay.
I always love these where people give their personal story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is Johnny.
Okay.
Made this comment.
I liked him in Karate Kid.
October 11th, 2019.
Okay.
Yes. The Anchorage Hotel is haunted. We were having a wedding and reception in their event room. We went downstairs to get more chairs. The chair was moving and no one else was down there. The chairs were moving by themselves. We ran up the stairs very fast. We told our host. She had an employee get chairs for us. We hurried out of the Anchorage Hotel. We never went back there again.
They didn't finish the wedding?
Well, I'm guessing they finished the wedding.
Okay.
But they left quickly after.
I was going to say, if they didn't finish the wedding, then maybe that does prove something. I don't know. But
well, I don't know. I mean, this is what I read is what I have.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I don't know. This sounds... I don't believe Johnny. I'm sorry. Even though he was great in Karate Kid, Johnny, I'm sorry.
Well, I think of Johnny from The Shining. Here's Johnny.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever you would say.
Well, you know, yeah, I go a little bit more modern than you. 1980s.
I see. No, you know what, though? I picked this because there is a lot of, again, poltergeisty reports that people have of things moving. So I thought this was interesting to have somebody claim that there were chairs moving.
Sure.
But it is interesting that the staff was like, we got this, and they went and got the chairs.
Yeah,
so
didn't have any issues then.
Yeah. So I'm going to give it, I'm going to give this one a 4.
I'm going to give it a 1. I have to go 1 because I can't totally disprove it. I don't know exactly what happened there, but yeah. I'm sure something. There's no photos, no videos of this happening. So
there you go. All right. Next one. This is the other famous ghost.
Some would say probably most favorite.
But I would say, yeah, probably the most.
Because I see it in your notes. I don't actually know what this is, but I just see the most famous. So.
The Anchorage, it's the ghost of Anchorage's first chief of police.
Okay.
John J. Blackjack Sturgus.
Okay.
In 1921, he was found dead just a few steps from the entrance to the hotel, having been shot in the back with his own gun.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun. The murders remained unsolved. They never figured out who did it in over a century. But supposedly, Chief Blackjack still makes his presence known within the hotel, where, near where he was gunned down. Rumors say that he returns every year on February 20th to the scene of his murder, possibly seeking justice for the unsolved crime.
All right, well, you know what? I know who did it. It was Johnny.
2 different timelines.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this wasn't even the same building. So
we were right outside.
Yeah, okay, but yeah. So they see him every year, and at the scene of the murder, so they see him outside. I'm going to say, I don't think that this is true. I think this is false.
Shocking.
False information here. I'm going to give it a 1, but it's false information though, people. Yeah. So
right. I'm going to give it a 6.
All right.
Because, again, it's a popular story. Yeah. So there's that. But I actually couldn't find any particular stories of someone saying, I saw this guy. It's one of those.
So it's all secondhand knowledge.
Right.
About
it's a little bit more. Yeah. So does it seem possible?
Still say, where was Johnny during this?
Not born yet. All right. We have...
well, you don't know that, actually. Johnny could be an old man.
That's true.
Getting chairs. Yeah.
All right. Next one. 2 rooms in the hotel are known to have heightened activity. So if you are going to pick a room to stay in, I would pick one of these 2 rooms. Room 217 and 215.
Okay.
So supposedly the TVs in those rooms will turn on and off on their own.
All right. Let's stop with the TVs because I just want to do one at a time here. So the TVs, we've already talked about this. If the walls are thin enough, someone in the next room, they usually have the same TVs throughout the whole hotel. And their remote can actually change the channel.
It's just weird, why just these 2, though?
Maybe the walls are thinner there. I don't know. Maybe the veil to the underworld is thinner there.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly. No, and then the other 2 things kind of go together, which is supposedly the faucets and the lights will also turn on and off. And supposedly no matter how many plumbers or electricians they call, they never can seem to find a reason for the malfunctions.
Yeah, I'm going to say that I definitely think it's faulty plumbing and faulty electricity there that would cause faucets to turn on and lights to turn on and off. Or maybe the person had the faucet on a little bit, didn't totally turn it all the way off. And I know people looked at this, but did they have Super Mario Brother there? No, Mario wasn't there. He's the ultimate plumber.
I was like, I don't know where you're going with this one.
0 for this one.
All right. This one I give an 8.
Okay.
I actually feel like this is more paranormal activity, poltergeisty activity, kind of common. Definitely something went on with those 2 rooms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I disagree.
Okay. And then Rusi is, I think, a hotel manager or somebody. She was in that story.
Hello, Rusi.
Yep. And she says that there is a little boy and a little girl that are in the hotel. And this is what a psychic told her.
Okay.
That they didn't die in the hotel, but at the hospital when it was that's nearby. And they always come back to this area because their family lived there. So
family lived in the hotel,
I guess.
Okay.
And so they come back to see them. So there have been reports of the sound of children running up and down the halls at night. Guests will call down to the lobby to complain, only to be told there are no children registered in the hotel for the night. There's some specific things mentioned, like they'll see a boy with a red ball. Just some other stuff, but I think more often it's just the sound of children.
Well, the sound can be anything. It can be people walking, and when sound is distorted enough, it can sound like children when it's actually adults, or maybe it's 2 females that then sound like a boy and girl or something. I don't know. As far as seeing them, I did not see anything about anyone seeing anybody, so I don't know what to say about that. So I'm going to give this one a 2 then.
Ooh. All right, I'm going to give this one... I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay.
Because again, I do agree, it's a little bit nebulous to hear children playing in the hall. But then again, the psychics felt them, and, there's been a number of reports of them. So, it's possible.
All right. Well, that brings us to our overall rating. What is your overall rating for this?
So my overall rating then, oh man, I went up to an 8. I had a 7. I had a couple 6s, but I also had a 4.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 7.
Yeah?
I'm going to go 7.
I'm going to go 1. Because I had a 2 and I had 0,
You
so I
did.
have to average that out.
All right.
So that brings us to the closing arguments. This is our last chance to convince you to vote our way. We're each given 1 minute of uninterrupted time, Rebecca. We will time each other on our cell phones to keep each other honest. Rebecca, are you ready?
I am ready.
And away you go.
All right. So I think this hotel is haunted. It's well known. There's been enough reports that they felt the need to, and the person, again, who kind of runs the hotel felt the need, like, hey, I've experienced these things. I want to know what else is going on. So I do think there's some poltergeisty activity. I do think that the woman haunts it for sure. Because definitely, again, that's the one that's seen. I'm not as sure about the sheriff, but maybe. But it does seem like a place that I could see souls being drawn to. And yeah, there's just enough stuff there. So haunted.
All right. You had 19 seconds left.
I
Rebecca.
know.
Actually, I started it a little bit after I told you to go. So.
All right. Whatever you say. All right. You ready?
Yes, I am.
And go.
So I said this in the beginning. I think it's easy to be distorted when you are in a new environment. This definitely would be a new environment. There's a lot of people coming from out of town to go there. They don't understand the local ways. They don't understand the local customs. The place seems a little strange to them. And I think that puts them at a heightened awareness of these kind of things, or unawareness, maybe I should say, because I don't think that they actually happened. I think this is all just reports. People love to be the start of a good story. So of course they're going to say stuff like this. So that's where I'm going to leave this. All
right. Just about the same.
Yeah. So I want to thank everyone so much for listening. Please share us with your friends and family, as word of mouth is our best advertisement. And, truly we have had a lot of people recommend us, and that is why we're actually getting listeners.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. And another thing that we appreciate is our VIP producers, which is Andrew,
Alicia,
Becky,
Kim,
Ernie,
Cindy,
Kevin,
Jessica,
Alice,
Aaron,
Hope,
and Candy.
And on the next episode of Ghostly, we're going to be talking about St. Augustine's Lighthouse in St. Augustine, Florida. And it comes out on March 6th. Are you ready for that one?
We're going from cold to warm.
Now, I know Mondo's been there.
Ooh,
so nice. I'll have to ask him what his thoughts are of St. Augustine.
Definitely.
Until next time, stay ghostly.
Bye.